So with setting up the drum sander, chances are to transport it into your car, it'll be in pulled apart in a couple of pieces, like I said, making it easier to transport and to lift. Once you get it to your place, it's just a case of getting the handle, placing the handle back in the receiver here. And once the handle goes back in, you've got to tighten up this clamp here. Now, a safety thing, really key thing, is you've got to make sure this is really, really tight. So when the machine starts moving, operating, it's going to vibrate a little bit. So you've got to make sure that's nice and tight so it doesn't vibrate loose and potentially come away from the machine. Next up, we insert the power cord. Once it's installed, just a twist lock. Next is our dust extraction tube. So the tube just slots into that hole there. Then we get our dust bag, find the open end, insert it over the end, gather it up and wrap it around the tube and roll the rubber ring back down over the top, all the way down to there's a slight flange there. So roll it down to the flange and it's going to stay in place. Finally, we've got to install our sandpaper. So just tilt the machine back, lift the front guard here, and as you can see, this is the drum that operates the floor sander itself. When the sandpaper is wrapped around that, it's the drum that is rotating rather quickly that's going to remove that top layer of timber from your floor. So next, just to install the sandpaper, I've actually just thrown my gloves on since we're using some tools and we've got some moving parts here, so just to be safe. So on the drum, we've got this spring-loaded plate with the two screws that hold the plate in place. So you just need to get your sandpaper, tuck it in under that plate, and we just screw these screws back in, and this is going to help hold the sandpaper in place as we rotate this drum. Make sure you've got a screwdriver that's suitable for these screw heads. If you use a screwdriver that's too narrow, you're not going to be able to apply the right amount of pressure that's going to secure these screws in place for when the machine's operating. So they're nice and tight. We just need to wrap the sandpaper around the drum as we roll the drum around, keeping it nice and tight and snug on the drum. Now we're back here, back off these screws, which is going to free up that plate again. Essentially, we just need to tuck these end tabs of the sandpaper back under that same plate. So a quick tip, just fold these tabs down a little bit. It's going to help tuck them in under that plate. So just run your hands around the drum, try and tighten up that sandpaper on the drum as much as you can. Keeping some pressure on that sandpaper and the plate. You can see my fingers keeping that plate down, keeping everything in place. And just a final check, just with your hand, just run your hand over it to make sure that you can't feel that plate so it's recessed below the sandpaper. Because what you don't want is that plate to, these screws to come loose, the plate to come loose, and that comes in contact with your floor and it's going to cause all sorts of dramas. So now the final thing is the location of the power switches. So it's just up the top on the handle. So we have the green switch for on and the red switch for off. So then you're ready to start operating the machine. A couple of quick tips. The dust extraction tube does actually swivel. So when you're standing up against a wall on your left-hand side, you can swivel the bag around in front. Or if the wall's on the right-hand side, swivel it back out of the way and so on. Just keep in mind, if you are swiveling it around on this side, the bag will inflate when the machine's in operation. You just got to make sure that that bag doesn't get caught up on this handle, because if you tear the bag open, you're going to be in one hell of a mess. So there you have it, how to set up and operate a floor sander. Don't forget, the team at Kennards Hire are there to help in terms of advice on the equipment to use for your particular project, and especially when it comes to floor sanders, advice on the different types of sandpaper to use. For more information, check out our website or give us a call. Just remember, when using the equipment, Kennards Hire recommends the use of safety products at all times. Be sure to use the personal protective clothing and equipment for each product hired, which are available at every brand.
Kennards make your job easy.